In 2014, I was a materials engineer sitting in a cubicle making $50,000 a year. Today, I'm a managing editor at Forbes working from my 129th country. But this isn't a story about finding remote work on some job board. This is about the 4-year grind from $75 articles to $90,000 in freelance income. The conferences that led to my first clients. The 5 months that I made $6,500 total while working from hostel dorms. And the one mistake I wish I could take back. I'm Caroline, and this is exactly how I built a remote career, including the timeline, the failures, and the numbers no one talks about. I never planned any of this. I graduated from the University of Michigan in 2013 with a degree in materials science and engineering. I worked as a research and development engineer, then a manufacturing engineer, making $50,000 a year. And I hated it. I was in a windowless lab doing the same tests over and over, commuting an hour or more each way every day. I couldn't see myself doing that for 30 plus years. But I had gotten interested in travel hacking after a trip to Europe. I'm an engineer, so the optimization side of points and miles just clicked for me. I started a blog called Point Princess in April of 2023, just writing about travel hacking and trip reports. It was a passion project. Nothing serious. Then 2014 happened. I had quit my engineering job for a 6-month contract. I was dating somebody in Baltimore and planning to move there, so the timing worked out perfectly. My work contract ended, so I flew out to Baltimore to apartment hunt, but instead of finding an apartment, I got dumped. Everything I had planned didn't make sense anymore. I was less than a year out of university with almost no savings. My parents helped with rent so I could figure out what was next. My now ex and I had planned a 2-week summer trip to Thailand before we broke up. I still had the ticket. No reason to move to Baltimore. No job to show up at, so I extended the trip from 2 weeks to 6. Cambodia and Vietnam instead of Thailand. Hostels for $5 a night, occasionally splurging on a $12 private room. Flights covered through travel hacking. And that trip is when it hit me. Travel doesn't have to be this expensive vacation thing. I could actually live like this. Digital nomad wasn't a widely used term yet, but I started wondering if I could figure something out. And that blog I'd started a year earlier, it became my portfolio. When I started pitching potential clients, I already had clips. I had proof I could write. That random passion project from 2013 became the reason I could get paid later in 2014. I came back from that trip in late summer 2014, and within about a month, I landed my first freelance gig. It came from a conference. I had been going to travel hacking conferences since 2013 because of my blog. And that's where I met the owner of Award Magic, a service that helps people book tickets with their frequent flyer miles. He needed booking help. This wasn't writing yet, but it was applying my travel hacking knowledge. Then I met someone else at a different conference who wrote for a blog called Frugal Travel Guy. He advocated for more diversity on the writing staff and connected me with the editor. That project was $75 per article, 2 articles a week, $600 a month. That was my first stable freelance writing income. Over the next few years, I went to 2 or so conferences per year. My first client came from a conference conversation. My second client came from a referral at another conference. Every major opportunity I've had in this industry started with a conversation, not a cold pitch. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. The actual timeline. When I came back from Southeast Asia in late summer 2014 and started freelancing, I wasn't making much. From August to December 2014, I made $6,500 total in 5 months. I was splitting time between staying with my parents and short trips abroad paid for with miles, working about 20 hours a week from hostels, coffee shops, and my parents' house. But at this point, I had never gotten used to making that much money. I was still basically straight out of university where I only had an hourly part-time job. I had worked for less than a year, making $50,000 annually. I was already comfortable living on relatively little. So I was cobbling together income from multiple sources: freelance writing, Award Magic bookings, online tutoring, my blog, some photography work, and Airbnb rental of my place when I was out of town. It took me around a year and a half to get from $75 an article to $200 per article. By 2018, I was making $500 an article from my top clients. But that didn't happen from waiting. It happened by building up enough clips to pitch better clients and getting comfortable asking for higher rates. Here's how the revenue actually looked. 2015, $50,000 in revenue. This matched my old engineering salary on paper, but it was before any expenses. 2016, just shy of $70,000 in revenue. 2017, over $50,000 in profit after expenses. This was the year I matched my engineering salary in take-home. 2018, just short of $90,000 before expenses. And yeah, I lost clients over the years too. Budgets changed, pitches fell through, but I never really thought, this isn't working. The pattern was clear. The income was going up, the rates were going up, and I had enough sources of income that losing one client wouldn't break me. The blog was the foundation, but it wasn't the only thing. I participated in forums and Facebook groups. I answered questions, shared data, posted updates, and spoke at conferences. My social media presence grew slowly. I wasn't going viral, but I was building a reputation as somebody who knew what they were talking about. When I pitched to new clients, sometimes they'd already heard my name. That matters more than people think. My blog made maybe $100 a month from ads and affiliate links. Not much, but it got me clients who paid $200 to $500 per article. The credibility it built was worth multiple times the direct revenue. And here's a reality check. I'm not someone who even loves writing for its own sake. I'm good at breaking down complex topics and making them understandable. Writing pays for the lifestyle I want, so I do it consistently, and I've gotten good at it. The work doesn't have to be your passion. It has to be something you're willing to show up for and keep improving at, even when it's not exciting. No one was going to tell me what to write, when to publish, or how to structure my day. If you need external structure to get things done, remote work is going to be a little harder. You have to be willing to figure it out as you go. In late 2019, I got an email from a hiring manager at Forbes. They wanted me for a full-time role. I wasn't that interested. Freelancing had been going really well. I had made just short of $90,000 the year before. Going back full-time felt like a step backward, but I still said yes to the conversation. They wanted me to head the project, and it was Forbes. The brand prestige mattered a little bit, and critically, it was fully remote and flexible. I asked directly, can I keep traveling? They said yes. I thought, why not give it a go for 1 to 2 years? It will be good for my growth, and then I'll go back to freelancing. Over 6 years later, I'm still here, and I've had zero issues with my lifestyle because I was clear about my requirements from the beginning. But if I could go back and tell my 2014 self one thing, it would be this. Keep working on your own projects even when the client work starts paying well. I gave up on my blog around 2017. I prioritized client work because it was guaranteed income. My own projects were uncertain, so I chose the sure thing. I let the blog die. I stopped investing time into my own platforms. Then Forbes came along, and suddenly all of my income was tied to one employer again. I didn't have anything of my own to fall back on. I had gone from diversified freelance income with multiple clients, my own projects, and different income streams to the same risk I had back in 2013 with engineering. One source, one decision away from scrambling. In retrospect, I should have kept working on both. Your own projects can compound over time. Client work or a full-time job can disappear overnight. I didn't leave room for both, and that's the one thing I wish I could change. So here's what we just covered. I went from a $50,000 a year engineering job that I hated to freelancing in 2014. I started at $75 per article. At one point, I made only $6,500 in 5 months. But 4 years later, I was making $90,000 freelancing. Then Forbes hired me in 2019, and I've been fully remote while working for them for 6 years while continuing to travel full-time. But here's the part most remote work content doesn't tell you. The timeline can be long. It took me 4 years to go from $75 articles to $90,000 in revenue. And the biggest mistake I made was letting my own projects die when the client work started paying well. I gave up on my blog, stopped building my own platforms, and then suddenly all of my income was tied to one employer again. This isn't a 10 remote job websites video. This is what actually happened. How I got clients at conferences, the years of low income, the blog that became my portfolio but then got abandoned, and the one decision I wish I could go back and change. So if you're trying to build a remote career, the question isn't, can I do this? It's, am I willing to spend 2 to 4 years building this if the income is unpredictable? Because that's what it might take. I've been doing this for 12 years now. 6 years at Forbes, 6 years freelancing before that. If you want more real talk about location-independent work, the actual timeline, the failures, the numbers, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.